Hello, welcome to the So Now What podcast. My name's Carrie and I host this podcast from my quilt studio in Oregon near Portland. And welcome. If you're a new viewer, this is a podcast about quilting and knitting and different creative outlets. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And thank you for subscribing. It's just tickled me so much to see my subscriptions going up and that people are interested enough to want to know when I'm going to record again. I record usually every couple of weeks. I have been trying to record on Thursdays, but this week it's a little bit different. I am leaving on Thursday this week to go on a quilt retreat. It sounds all fancy schmancy, but it's not really. What it is it's a group of friends. I've been part of this group of friends since 2004 when I first started quilting. And we get together several times a year. We used to get together 4 times a year. Now we're down to 2 times a year just because people's schedules, it's just made it a little more difficult to get together. And we rent a house. We've been renting different houses on the Oregon coast. And this weekend, we are actually renting a house up on Mount Hood. And the reason why we decided to go up towards Mount Hood, which is east of Portland, is because one of our friends has moved. She moved several years ago to the John Day area, which is very east, getting pretty close to the Idaho border. And she actually drives over for these retreats. It takes her about 7 hours. And then she stays for the retreat and then gets up bright and early and heads home on the last day. So we wanted to try and find a place that was closer for her. So I found a house. I'm usually in charge of trying to find a house, get online and search different websites and find a house that can accommodate 10 to 12 women with sewing machines. So it's not even like, okay, let's just make sure we all have a place to sit down and eat. We need to have room to sew and a room to set up ironing boards and a room and some room for cutting area. And is there enough beds? Because none of us really want to sleep together. So I try and find a house that's maybe got bunk beds or something like that. Oftentimes I have ended up on the floor in my sleeping bag, which I am fine with because I camp and backpack. And so sleeping on the floor is not a big deal for me. But it's all about just getting together. And we have so much fun. The way we organize it is depending on how many of us commit to going, and we rent the house and everybody has to pay for it up front. And if you decide you can't go, then you're out because we usually have to, we're booked in. Can't cancel it after 30 days before we go. So anyway, then another one of our friends, she kind of coordinates meals and we'll buddy up with one of us. So there's 2 people, buddy up, and you're in charge of making one meal. And whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, however it works out, you make that one meal and then you don't cook the rest of the weekend. And it's awesome. And we don't cook anything fancy. Like this time I'm bringing frozen lasagna, a bag of salad, and some garlic bread. And that's dinner. And it's perfect because there's going to be very little cleanup, very little effort on my part. But everybody will be happy. We're not picky. We all bring snacks and we sit around and we sew and talk and eat and solve the world's problems. We've been together so long. We've been through births and deaths and marriages and divorces, and it's a great way for us to reconnect with each other. It's kind of a bummer we only get together twice a year now because we stayed in better contact when we got together more often. But you know what? Those 2 times a year are pretty special. The thing that's going to be kind of a bummer about this time is that for different reasons, several of our group has had to cancel. So there's really only going to be 6 of us, which is going to be a bummer, but a nice cozy group is also good. And then we'll have more room to spread out and take up space. So we call it our retreat because we get away and we don't have to do anything but what we want to do, what we want to work on. So this time I do have to leave early. I have to come home for, I don't have to, but I'm choosing to come home for a memorial service for a dear friend who's had a death in her family. So
I'm going to come home early Saturday, so I'll miss a whole day. So I've been trying to figure out what am I going to work on, and most of the quilt projects I have in the works are more complicated projects, and I try not to bring anything that I really have to think about and pay attention to really strongly, because we're chatting and getting interrupted, and it can't spread out like I normally spread out. If you've seen previous episodes, I don't remember which episode it was, but I gave a little tour of my space here that I created, and you can tell I can really spread out. And so that's the way I'm used to working. And so when I'm in a confined space, I have to take that into consideration. I also try not to bring anything that I have to do a lot of fabric cutting, just because the space is a little more limited, and it just works out better if I bring everything pre-cut. And I don't have a quilt that I want to start. So there is one that I'm going to bring. It's a pretty elaborate project, and I think I'll have room to work on it. And then I'm going to bring knitting, and I'm just going to sit and knit for the other times when I just get tired of working on that project. So so this weekend's going to be a little bit different, but I'm still looking forward to it, and it's a new house for us, so it'll give us a chance to scope it out and see if it's something we want to rent in the future. Unfortunately, the friend that lives on the other side of the state had to cancel. So the whole reason why we were going to rent this particular house was because it was going to be closer for her, and she can't come because she had a family emergency. So it's feeling a little discombobulated because things are just not working out. So hopefully it'll work out from here on, and we'll have a great weekend. So that was a really long story of why I'm filming on Monday instead of Thursday. But today is Monday, and it is April, I have to look on my phone, April 25th, in case you're interested. And so I like to start with the quilt that's on the wall here. I usually start the podcast with what quilt I have on my design wall. And this is a quilt I just finished last week, I think. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw a little sneak peek of it. And I kind of talked about what it was. So I'm gonna review what that is. So if you haven't seen last episode, you'll at least know what I'm talking about when I explain it. So anyway, this quilt I did as a guild challenge. My local quilt guild issues a challenge at the beginning of the year, beginning of our fiscal year, which starts in September. And this year's challenge was to make a quilt using black and white and one other color. So I could have black fabric, white with black, black with white, and pick one color, and not shades of a color, just one color. So pretty limiting, and I didn't know what color I was going to go with. And one day I sat down at my computer. I had a horrible headache, so I just wasn't up for doing anything but just sitting on the computer. And I got on my EQ7 program and just played around with different ideas and came up with this. So I designed this on my EQ7 program. And so obviously I used black and white and like a mustardy yellow, which is interesting because I don't do yellow. But I have a quilt that hangs downstairs that has been hanging for several years now, like probably 8 years, and I'm tired of looking at it. It's a beautiful quilt, but I'm tired of looking at it, so I made this to take its place. So I'm going to try and put in some pictures. Maybe I'll even put them in the beginning, so you may have already seen them. Some close-ups of the quilting, because I really kind of went all out with the quilting. It was one of my first quilting projects that I did for myself after I retired from long arming for the general public. And I wanted to do something that I could spend time doing and not feel like I had to hurry through it because I had a customer's quilt waiting to get on. And so I kind of went all out on the quilting part of it. So anyway, that's what this is. I'm going to take this with me to the retreat and work on the binding. I've got the binding machine sewn around, and now I need to flip it to the back and hand sew it down. And then it'll be ready to hang when I come back. So that's ta-da. I wasn't going to show it. I haven't shown any pictures of the process on Instagram or anything like that because with the challenge, we bring our quilts to the guild meeting at the end of the year in June and anonymously enter them, and the guild walks through and votes for your favorite. So I didn't want to put any pictures out there to skew any votes, but I haven't been going to guild. I haven't really been enjoying going for the last few years, and I really have only gone to a couple this year. And so I don't care, because I'm not going to enter it. I'm probably not going to go. It's a little bit disappointing. Not that I expect to win, what are you going to win? It's something I probably wouldn't use anyway. But to see people vote for stuff that is, I can't say ugly, but not very inventive, not very creative. I think sometimes it is. But it's like, it's the same old stuff. It's a very traditional guild, which is fine. It's just not the kind of quilts I like. I am a pretty traditional person. My house is decorated more traditionally, but when I make quilts, I like to make things that are a little more contemporary and graphic. And this guild doesn't foster that too much. So anyway, golly, I'm just going on all kinds of tangents, aren't I? In the past, when I've done the podcast episodes, I do have show notes. I just don't look at them, which is really bad, because then in the end, I think, I sign off and like, goodbye everybody, thanks for watching. And then I look at my notes and realize I forgot to say, X number of things. So I'm going to really, really try to look at my show notes today so that I can keep track and make sure I mention what I want to mention. So that's going to be it for the quilt part of it. And let's move into the knitting part of it. So when I started doing this podcast, I did it and am doing it for a way to connect with other knitters. And quilters too, if that's your thing. But because I'm putting more of my effort into my knitting, and that's really interesting for me right now, because quilting has gotten kind of old for me in a way. There's nothing new, and right now knitting is pretty new to me. And if you've been knitting forever, you probably think there's really nothing new. But to me, it's new, and I'm excited, and I'm really just really enjoying learning new things. So part of a main reason of why I've wanted to do a podcast was to connect with people. And none of my friends knit. They're all quilters, or not at all. I have a group of friends that are all performers, which I'm not, but I'm a good audience member. And so nobody knits. So I wanted to connect with knitters. And it's been fantastic. It has really been fantastic. The comments that I've been getting have just really made me feel good and warmed my heart. One of you viewers, Gale, thank you so much for recommending that I watch a podcast called the Knotty Knitwits. And so I looked them up and clicked on over, and they also live in Oregon. They live on the other side of Portland from me, but they're fellow Oregonians, and they're funny. I can relate to them. They're very relatable for me. It's Michelle and Leslie, and they film, like I said, near Portland. And they're hysterical. They just crack me up. And unfortunately, they're very enabling for me, because I really love their style and their taste and what they like to knit and the colors. And so it's been it's been costing me, because it's like, oh, I got to look that one up and then I buy some more yarn. But I reached out to them, and we actually got together this past weekend on Saturday and met at a yarn shop. We met at Dublin Bay, which is in Portland, and it's a beautiful shop. I had been in there for the yarn crawl that I did a few months ago, but it was so busy that I didn't get a chance to really get a feel for the shop or get a chance to look around much. I just kind of went in, did a quick glance through, got my passport stamped, and moved on. So it was really nice to have a chance to go and really just shop. And so we met there, and they're lovely. I felt like I had instant friends, which was a great feeling. We sat, I think, for 4 hours. It was a really long time. I had paid the parking meter. I paid for 3 hours. I had to go out and put more money into it. And I think we stayed another hour after that. So I think it was about 4 hours. But the time flew because we just chatted and I felt like we really connected, and they're great. So please go, and if you haven't, or I'm sure I'm late to the party on this one, but go check out the Knotty Knitwits because they're fantastic. I just felt like my bucket was getting filled. And I just left there with a smile on my face, and it lasted, and it's still lasting because it just made me feel connected. And I truly feel like I met new friends, and it was like, this is why I do it, because of this. I connected with these people, and I had never gone and sat in a knit shop before and knitted. I didn't have anybody to do that with. And so it was just so fun. I can't even really put into words. It meant a lot to me. So we sat and knitted and became friends, and we're hopefully going to keep doing it regularly. So, and who knows what we'll end up doing from here on. I think it would be kind of fun to put together a knitting retreat, but that may be down the line. I don't know. I haven't asked them about it or anything. It's just kind of a thought I'm spewing out. But I want to thank you, Michelle and Leslie, for being so kind. And Michelle really stuck with me in trying to coordinate when we could meet. And I started to feel like a stalker. I started to feel a little desperate, like we have to make this work. And she was just lovely, and it was fantastic. So I have some new friends, and I'm so thankful for that. And I hope I can meet more people. I just really do. It was just so lovely. So anyway, and while I'll go into what I got there, I did buy some new yarn, but I'll go into that later because I'll have a section of what I bought in my new yarns. I had an opportunity through the Quilt Guild, ironically, to go take a tour of Blue Moon Fiber Arts studio, their barn where they dye their yarn. They live there. Tina, who is the owner of Blue Moon Fiber Arts, lives here in my same town, and so we went up there last week and got to see their stuff and their yarn. So anyway, it was fabulous. Tina was so gracious, took us around, explained things, let me take pictures. She's gonna have an open dye day, so I'm gonna call today and get an appointment where you go in and you've got a couple hours, you buy undyed yarn and you dye it. You dye it there. So I'm really excited. She had some newer yarn. It's been on their website. I don't frequent the website that often, but it's her Sparkle something, and it is way better than Stellina, let me tell you. It has a lot of sparkle, but it's a long strand woven in with the yarn. It doesn't like prickle out like Stellina does. So pretty. Oh my gosh, so pretty. So I wanted, Tina was fabulous. Thank you, Tina. And I wanted to kind of just give you a little slideshow of what I saw there. So there you go. Wasn't that cool? It was amazing. I'm very thankful I got a chance to do that. So now I'm going to move into to some other knitting stuff. Okay, so what I'll start with is my FOs. I actually have some FOs. Let me put my notes down here. I finally finished my Hermione Everyday Socks, you guys. Finally finished. I have a pair. I entered them in Katie's Cal, her knit along for her Harry Potter knit along. So I got them done in time for that, and I entered them in, and I really want to wear them, but I didn't want to wear them until I showed you. So really fun, speckly, highly speckly yarn from Knitted Wit on their Victory sock base. Nice. They're really nice. I'm still kind of, if you've watched the previous episodes, you know that I struggled with these, and they're super easy socks, but they just were not meant to be easy for me, because on the second, I don't know how it happened, but on the second sock, after I did the heel, and so you're back down to your normal stitches, somehow in the foot, I had 4 extra stitches on the needles. And I don't know how it happened, and I didn't notice it till I was going to go make the toe. So I was certainly not going to take it out. So one will be a little bit looser, and hopefully when I wash them I won't really notice, but I thought, really, let's just get these done, because they have just been like one mistake after another, and it's completely me. It's not the pattern. It's completely me. But I'm glad to have them done, and now I can wear them. Another FO, you guys. I finished my stuffy. If you follow on Instagram, you've seen him. Didn't he turn out cute? I just think he's so cute. His little ears are on a little crooked, but you know what? I don't really care. I've got some poly beads in his rear end, so he sits, and I put poly beads in the ends of his feet to help him balance. But I think it turned out so adorable. It's my first little stuffy. And I got it done in time to enter it in Legacy Knits a Cal for a stuffy along. So, yeah, it's cute. He was pretty easy to make. It's just making time, making the time to make him. I gotta get him on camera a little better. Here, dude. There you go. So those were my FOs. Really just that. But that's okay, because it's not like I'm not doing anything. So I do have a couple of whips. So the Dangling Conversation shawl, not in that bag, in this bag. I've been making progress on that, and it's really an easy knit and an easy one to do when you're having trouble paying attention. So I'm on the 3rd color. So as you can see, I started with the fuchsia, went to the purple, and now I'm in like a denim-y blue color. Super, super easy. I'm following the pattern, but I'm not following exactly how big to make the colored sections. I'm just kind of looking at it going, yeah, that looks like enough purple. Let me put in some blue. I kind of want it to be a little longer. So I've got plenty of yarn. So after this blue, then I'll go into more of like an ocean blue. And I've shown these before on the previous podcast episodes. So this is a really good one. When my hands start to get tired from knitting socks, I can knit this one, because it's being that it's on size 7 needles with fingering weight yarn, it's a loose knit, and it doesn't fatigue my hands. So I've been really enjoying working on that. I'm really trying hard not to cast on a new project because I want to make sure I get that done. I'll go into that in a second. So, okay, I have to show this because it was so cute. I was watching Yarngasm podcast with Kristen, and she, 2 or 3 episodes ago, showed that she played with Shrinky Dinks. And I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't done Shrinky Dinks in a million years. So I got Shrinky Dink stuff, and I made a zipper pull. I don't know if you can see that. It's a sunshine that goes with my sunglass project bag. Kind of cute. So anyway, this is a part of my acquisitions or new purchases, but I bought a sock blank. I got one of Gale's Art's sock blanks, and I got the bunny one. So you can see this is a double knit, so you get 2 strands of yarn off at the same time, and it fades from this like turquoise to the purple to green peach, and then you've got these bunnies on it in golds and pinks and purples. So I've never knitted socks 2 at a time, so why not try knitting socks 2 at a time off of a sock blank that you've never knitted off of before too? I mean, why not, right? So it's working out. The only issue I'm having, and it's not really an issue, but something to keep in mind, is that it's like, because it's so curly, it can, kind of get stuck on itself. And so it's not as easy to just, pull it apart. So I have to pay attention to how it's coming off of the sock blank. And keeping it twisted around and whatnot. So it started with this kind of a turquoisey color and moved into purple. And so now you can see what they look like. So the little stripes, kind of speckles, were the bunnies. And that's how they end up knitting. They just end up being speckly color. So it's fun. It's really, really fun to knit with. It's not bothering me with the kinky stuff. It's just something to be aware of if that's something you're sensitive to. So I'm just going to, it was really cool because Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast put out a video tutorial on how to do socks 2 at a time, like the week before I got my sock blank. So it was perfect timing. I watched it and got the idea of how to do it. I started them both on separate needles and got through the cuffs, which I don't really know that I really needed to do that, but I did. And then put them both on the same needle. So I'm going to knit these until I get to the heel. And I'm going to look through my sock architecture book to see what kind of heel I want to do. But I'll put them on separate needles to get through the heel. The thing of it is you do really have to knit them with the double knit sock blank. You do have to knit them at the same time because you're pulling that yarn off both strands. So if you weren't knitting with the other strand, it would just be a mess. So when I get to the heel, I'll put them on separate needles, get through making the heel, however it is. And when it gets back to knitting the foot, I'll put it back on a single needle and continue to the end. So, I mean, this would be, if you do toe up socks, it works the same. Doesn't matter which way you go with it. Doesn't matter which way the bunnies are facing because they just end up being speckly. But very fun. And this is what I worked on when I met up with Michelle and Leslie because, I'm just doing vanilla, which feels really good after trying to do the Hermione's and get myself all messed up. And so we just sat and chatted and it wasn't a problem. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, and it's fun to watch the colors change and know that was the bunny, and then what's that going to look like when that comes up. So it was pretty fun. So those are the 2 whips that I have right now. I'm going to go into my new purchases. So thanks to Michelle from the Knotty Knit Wits on her podcast, and I don't know which episode because I caught them on episode 19 or so, 18, 19, and then went back to the beginning and I'm working my way up. So I'm not sure which one she mentioned, but she mentioned this yarn, Fibernymph Dye Works. And this is sock yarn. And what this is it's called their Inversables set, and it's on the bedazzled base, and I've never knitted with sparkly. So this will be a first for me. It'll make self-stripe. I don't know if they're striping or if they're I think they're self-striping. And they'll make an inverse of each other. So this sock will have this kind of aqua blue color with gray stripes. And this will be more of a gray sock with blue stripes. So they're the same colors. There's just a different balance on how the stripes are made, which I think is really, really cool. So they'll match but not match. So I really want to get started on these because I want to see how these get going. And I may do, because it's self-striping, I may do, was it the Geek sock? Or something where you do it like a slip stitch that kind of staggers the stripe, just for fun. But I'm going to get my sock blank socks done first, and then I'll work on these. But this is really fun, and it feels really nice. I think it's going to be a nice, really fun pair of socks. So thanks, Michelle. But I got her back. I totally got her back. And you'll have to watch their episode. I don't know if she'll talk about it or not. But anyway, when I was at Dublin Bay, I purchased three Irish girls. Why am I saying sisters? 3 Irish girls yarn. Look at this colorway. It is like this dark, really dark maroon goes into like a dark cranberry and a gray and this beautiful, what color is that? Like a sea foam blue. It's almost the same color actually as that. But the combination of this just yelled at me. It said, you have to take it home. I mean, seriously. And then I got another 3 Irish girls in a dark gray to go with it. Won't this be something just amazing? So, of course, now I'm like scouring Ravelry. What can I make with these? And it's a really nice yarn. It feels so good. They're 85 merino, 15 nylon. This gray color is called Little Black Raincloud. Love it. And then this with the cranberry and stuff, that color is Mairin, M-A-I-R-I-N. They have 430 yards. I'm assuming it's 100 grams. It's 3.5 ounces. But, oh, goodness. I can't wait to make something with this because this is just going to be so pretty. So pretty. Okay, so while I was looking through Ravelry to see what I could make with this new yarn, I'm thinking like a shawl or something. See, here's the problem. I think I want to make a sweater, but I know that if I make a worsted weight sweater, I won't ever wear it. It'll be too warm. I know if I try and make a sweater with like fingering weight, it'll take me too long and I'll lose interest in it. So I'm kind of going with a shawl look. But then I found this pattern, which, oh goodness, oh, darn it. Okay, so it's a Stephen West pattern, Batad. My printer ran out of colored ink, so it only printed in black and white, but it's like a shawl, sort of. I don't know if you can see it on him, but it's connected. So it's kind of more like a wrap. Can you see that? So it's more like a wrap, and it has these. I'll insert a picture of from Ravelry's pattern page, so you can see a better picture of it. So it connects, but still has that shawl kind of look, so it won't fall off. And I thought if I just kind of have something that goes over my shoulders when I feel cool, that might be warm enough. And then it's not a sweater project, and it's kind of cool looking. And so, so of course I bought the pattern. Hang on a second. I gotta pick up the yarn that fell. Okay, so I thought that would be really cool with this. But then I think, what if that doesn't end up looking very good, that style? Then I've got this yarn that I'm like really, really in love with in a project I don't really, really love. And if it's, you know, it may turn out great. I don't know. So then I thought, why don't I make it out of something that I'm not like in love with? Like, I like it a lot, you know, and it'll be fine, but there's no special attachment to it. And I don't know why this yarn is. To me, this 3 Irish Girls yarn is like special. So then I thought, I'll try the pattern. I'll make it in something that I have that I can easily get replaced. And I don't know how easy it is to get 3 Irish Girls yarn, but anyway, that's just where my brain's going. So I had this Bumble Birch yarn. I've shown it before. I got it on the yarn crawl. And then I've got this gray yarn from, I don't remember where I got this because I don't remember the name of the store. This was from the Knitting Bee, also on the yarn crawl. They go really good together, sort of. So the only thing is this gray has a green undertone to it. And I'm not really sure that it goes with this. So I don't know how that'll look when it's just in a stripe. But to me, it doesn't really go. It has this green undertone. So I thought, okay, so maybe that doesn't work. But maybe this does. So what do you think about that? This definitely goes with it. If this were the dark stripes and this is the in-between part. Here, maybe you can tell from that picture. So those dark stripes are done, what do they call them? I don't know, you do them kind of funky. It's going to be interesting to do. I don't know. So I'm not very helpful to you guys right now. a welt. Make a welt. So you're like, I think you knit several rows and then somehow bind them together or something. So it makes it like a ridge. It actually puffs out. So what do you think? The dark pink with it or the greenish gray with it? I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to ask Jim. He's really, really good with color. That's what he does for his job, is match colors like to perfection. And so he has a very good eye for color, and he's a very good sounding board for me. But I'd be curious to what you think. I just don't know. I think it'll look good probably either way. But let me know what you think. Oh, and I wanted to make sure I let you know, let's backtrack a little bit. On the Hippo, it's out of this book. It's a Susan B. Anderson book. I've had somebody ask on Instagram. This is the book it came from. So, get it. It's cute. All right. I'm going to check my notes because, like I said, I forget. Okay. I think that's all of my own stuff. I do want to mention a couple of other podcasts that I recently started watching. Aside from the Knotty Knitwits, Suburban Stitcher. I know she's probably very well known, and I'm still picking up. There's so many podcasts out there. It's hard to watch them all. So Suburban Stitcher with Diane, I liked it. I've only watched one episode, but it was nice, and I will probably subscribe and watch more of those. Another one is the Make Things Club. I don't remember if I mentioned that last week. She's a newer podcaster. She's out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I like her. She's lovely. And she's doing a cowl for a sweater, making a sweater. And I kind of, if I decide to make a sweater, I think I'll join the cowl, but I'm still kind of on the fence with it. And then another one I just found yesterday, and it was funny because I was looking to see on this Stephen West pattern, to see what to look for other people that have made the project, and I go on Ravelry and see who else has made the project and any issues they had and what colors people made it out of, and how I really like when people show themselves wearing the item, because when it's on a mannequin, that doesn't give me a true idea of what does it look like with somebody that actually has real boobs and is not the size of a pencil. So anyway, I came across this gal, and she just has one episode on her podcast, and she's called Stringing It Together, and her name is Becky, and she is an opera singer and lives in Chicago. She's going to be moving to Germany, and so that'll be interesting to see if she moves her podcast with her. So yeah, really, I'm going to be curious to see where she goes with hers. She's an itty bitty little thing, but she seems to knit pretty fast. At least it seems like it based on what she showed. So that's it. I've been making some bags for the shop. Thank you to anyone who purchased some of my stuff out of my shop. It's just really cool. It's just really cool. It's tickled me so much, the ones that I have to send overseas. Like I've sent to Norway and Denmark and the UK, and that's like, oh my gosh, something I made is going over there. So it's just, thank you for the support. I just really, really appreciate it. I've made some bags, so I have a couple for an update. I've got fabric on order, and it hasn't come yet. I was hoping I was going to be able to make bags when I went on my quilt retreat, but it's probably going to come while I'm gone. So, I'll be making bags later. So I have, this is the bigger size, which is like, like shawl size. That's the size I guess it's a teeny bit taller than that. You could probably fit a sweater in this. That's that size. Oh, and I do put pockets, and I've changed the way I did. I don't know if I can show you. I changed the way I did a pocket. I made a skinny one so you can slip a knitting needle or a crochet hook in it. That's super handy. And then a smaller version of that. So this is a good small project, sock project, a small shawl, something like that. And there's the inside with pockets. And then I've got a small sunglasses one with yellow and a black pocket. So like I said, I've got some fabric on order that will be coming in, and I've got some fabric that I'm hoping, I've got an idea of what I want to do with it. I think will be really cool. So hopefully when it comes, it's what I think it's going to be, and it will be really cool. So thank you. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me. Subscribe so that you can keep up on when I record another episode. Like I said, I try and do every 2 weeks on Thursday, but you know, life happens and we're getting into summer. We do a lot of camping and stuff happens. So yeah, if you subscribe, then you'll just get the update of like, oh, so now what's got a new podcast up. I love those. I love this when I get that. It's like, oh, Inside Number 23 has a podcast up. So I'm like, yay. So anyway, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I know this one feels a little bit rambly, but yeah, what can I say? So have a great week. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.